When he reached the front of the tower, one of the guards greeted him with a nod. When he stepped inside, Ilkar and Exitor, the leader of the border guards, were standing in front of the prisoner, quietly watching him. Exitor was a burly jaguar hybrid. Every motion caused muscles to stand out like lines. The spots on his face changed in the light. His voice was deep and measured. "We said it over and over," he said. "No hunting at the border, no theft, ever. And now one of our men cannot walk. Do they still not understand?" On the prisoner's face, there was not the slightest regret. His eyes were scanning the surroundings, as if he was still looking for an escape. At the corner of his lips, there was a contemptuous curve, but he did not speak. Ilkar approached him. "He was not alone," he said. "The others fled, but this one could not escape." Exitor nodded. "The wounded guard will no longer be able to walk," he said. "The nerves in his leg are crushed." There was a silence. Toran fixed his eyes on the prisoner. Then Ilkar spoke. His voice echoed against the stone walls of the tower. "You will stay here, until I die." At that moment, the prisoner's face became serious for the first time. His smile disappeared. The people of Barona had over time become accustomed to every situation, to the arrival of traders, to news of border violations, even to messengers sent with threats by Loquen. But this time it was different. There was a prisoner, and he had been caught accompanied by an injured guard. This was the most serious border violation in the history of Barona, and yet the people were not afraid, because Ilkar was there, Exitor was there, Toran was there. Where they were, fear gave way to trust. 2 days later, as the morning sun slowly filtered onto the stone streets of the town, 3 familiar yet unwelcome silhouettes appeared in the square. Barona's guards were escorting these men, but you could read displeasure on their faces. Shoulders were low, gazes were hard. It was clear the guards were not pleased with the men they escorted. The man in the middle was striking. He was slender. His face was long and narrow, his nose low, his mouth wide, and his ears curved upward. The hyena hybrid traits were obvious. Larwa. Everyone who heard his name felt a shiver of unease inside, because Larwa was a master at spreading rumors. There was none like him in manipulation, insinuation, treachery. He had been dealt with many times in Barona, yet somehow had always been sent back harmlessly. That morning was different. His face was tense. His eyes swept the square, looked at the crowd, and then he shouted, "Ilkar!" There was silence. His voice echoed, but no answer came. Larwa raised his voice even more. "Ilkar!" This time the voice came from the shadow of the square. The crowd suddenly drew back. The familiar figure emerged from the shadows, stepped to the center of the square. Ilkar. "Your voice is loud, Larwa," he said in a cold tone. "This is Barona. Words not clamoring. Carry weight here. What do you want?" Larwa pursed his lips, placed a scornful smile on his face. "You have taken a member of our pack," he said. "Apparently Barona is now getting support from others. Otherwise, where did this courage come from?" In Barona, the word pack was never used, because hybrids here were not seen as animals. Each individual still bore a will, a being living by his own choice. These words sent an icy air across the square. Ilkar's eyes darkened. He spoke harshly. "Pack? How quickly have you abandoned humanity to talk to me like that?" Larwa smiled indifferently. "We accept ourselves. And you?" He fixed his eyes on Ilkar. You imagine yourself an eagle, but what you really are is unknown. You wouldn't understand the bonds we call pack. Ilkar's face tightened. His face had never tensed like this before. He slowly took 2 steps toward Larwa. Now he was nose to nose. Don't speak to me like that again. His voice was like a wire stretched between earth and sky. Larwa answered without even blinking. Give me my man, or I will feed this place to the vultures. And at that moment, Ilkar quietly placed his hands on his shoulders. He removed his shirt and the fencing-like leather jacket in a single motion. And then he spread his wings, extending to both sides, in shades of grey and black, broad, majestic eagle wings. These magnificent structures rising from his shoulders stood like monuments in the center of the square. His feathers were shining. They were powerful, pure, untarnished, and filled with nobility. Ilkar didn't speak. He had no need to speak. For the first time, a tremor appeared in Larwa's eyes. His tongue was tied. The square fell silent. Eyes were locked on Ilkar's wings. Larwa stepped back. Then another step. He glanced around from the side of his eye and met Vireyon's gaze. At that moment, he shivered with a cold chill running down his spine. He averted his eyes, turned his head, and without a single word to anyone, muttering a few things in his own tongue, left with his men. Verona now kept no secrets. When the wings opened, not only the sky, but the square bowed to Ilkar. At that moment, everyone held their breath. Verona's square had turned into a stage where history was silently written. Ilkar's wings were not just a physical sign. At that moment, the sky had come down, a secret had been revealed, and it was reminded that hybridity was not only an inheritance, but also a destiny. Old and young of the town, women and men alike, all were silent in the face of what they saw. Because until that day, there had always been whispers circulating. Ilkar is not a hybrid. He has no animal traits at all. Maybe he is just a strong human, but no one had expected this. Such majestic, such graceful and flawless eagle wings. With his muscular body, broad shoulders, upright stance, and features like those carved on a rock, Ilkar had offered the secret buried in his chest to the whole town. And this secret was seen in daylight for the first time by Nemea, his wife, life companion. For years she had walked beside the man, but had never seen what he carried this nakedly. She remained silent, but the admiration in her gaze spread like an echo through the town. As for Vireyon, his pupils had enlarged, his breath slowed. He had seen such a thing only in his dreams. Those magnificent structures rising from Ilkar's shoulders gave him not only power, but a security, a determination, and a sense of direction. In that moment he understood why his father Toran often left him with Ilkar, why everyone accepted him as a leader without debate. Because Ilkar was no longer a secret. He was truth itself.